Hey, what's up, everybody? Y'all know who this is. It's that familiar voice you done got to know and love. It's your boy J.Raw with the J.Raw Wrestling Weekly Podcast. This week is episode 17. I promised y'all this a couple weeks ago. And been, busy with life. Everybody know how I go. Just to recap real quick, shout out to DJ Hardcore Productions. Big Bro had another phenomenal showcase on the 14th, which was dope. Shout out to him. And make sure to go to eventbrite.com because the next showcase is coming up January the 9th for the new year. Also, making sure to plug the sponsor, of course, is the Lucky Well. Fortunately, due to the pandemic and all the restrictions and everything like that, the indoor dining is cut, but they still doing takeout and deliveries. Make sure you go to theluckywell.com or go to the socials, the Facebook or IG, and, make sure you place your orders. Go ahead and shout out the Facebook groups. Shout out to Russell Cave Podcast. Fortunately, I got the news from man himself, Geechie Geech. Shout out Geech, what up? Make sure y'all go to 5 Mobiles and support his food service, 5mobile.com, the number 5mobile.com. Also shout out Dirty Case. Like I was saying, Geech informed me, fortunately, the end of the Russell K podcast is done. But he still got his Trap podcast jumping off, so make sure you subscribe to the Trap podcast and everything you got going on with that. Shout out to True Hills, also Marked Out Club, and Russell Marks Worldwide. All right, so without further ado, we going to get into the show. Everybody pretty much getting used to the format. But this week, we're going to start out with the AEW block. Then we're going to go into Impact. And then from Impact, we're going to jump into ROH recap. Then we're going to slide on over to New Japan. Get a New Japan recap. And also going to do my Survivor Series predictions because today is Survivor Series. Shout out to everybody. Happy Survivor Series Sunday. Then after I do my Survivor Series predictions, going to go into some wrestling news. Then the top 10. Top 10 for this week is I'm going to dive into my top 10 females. And like I always say, this is just my opinion. If you have a different top 10, you want to leave your suggestions, comments, make sure you go to Castbox, box.fm.com, go to Spreaker, go to SoundCloud, and also YouTube where you can get the One Struggle Radio podcast, and you can get this podcast, and leave your comments about my top 10. Also going to do the hot spot and the botch of the week. All right, so let me get my chair a little adjusted here, get busy. Hopefully we're going to keep this show under 2 hours. All right, so like I said, we're going to start out with the AEW block. First up is going to be BTE recap of episode 230. Then going to do a quick dark recap. And then going to dive into Dynamite. All right, so let's get into Being the Elite episode 230. All right. So the show starts out with Alex Reynolds and John Silver try to recruit Frankie Kazarian into the Dark Order. Kazarian says he would consider it if the group hadn't beat him in Scorpio Sky for weeks earlier in the year. Kazarian says they seem like good guys but hates the Dark Order. Do ya? Silver says. Frankie doesn't like him stealing his phrase. He passes on the offer. Then Jerry Lynn shows up and says he thinks Frankie Kazarian needs an intervention for anger management. Then Frankie goes off on him. Alright, so next up we got Peter Avalon enjoying a drink, but Arthur and Trevor show up. Arthur rips him a bit, and then Trevor tries to prop Avalon up, but Peter doesn't want any help. Avalon then says his date didn't show up, so how about a drink? They end up staying and all get drunk, and Arthur gets sick to his stomach. Alright, so next up we got Nick and Matt put the nameplates on their AEW World Tag titles. Matt and Nick talked with Sammy Guevara, who mistakenly cut the BTE Championship in half when he attempted to do a bit for his blog. The guys think it was a joke at first, but Sammy says it wasn't and he's really sorry. Eventually, Sammy points to his camera that was hidden and said it's actually a joke and that's not their BTE title. The guys find Trent, who has the proper title. And Brandon Cutler asks Frankie if he's on the streak now after 2 wins. Frankie calls him a mark, thinking for that. Cutler says he sure could use those anger management classes, and Frankie chases after him. Alright, so the Young Bucks show off their new Young Bucks book and hand out a couple of those in the locker room to those who helped them along the way. They plug the book and some of the stories fans might not know about them. Private Party talks to Grayson about the Dark Order party being lame. Then he says, "Be cool," as Anna Jay walks by and shoves him over the table. AEW wrestlers play a live-action version of the video game Among Us. Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor pour out beer on Trent to celebrate him winning the BTE title. Trent says he doesn't really want this thing, but he'll defend it. Alright, and the Dark Order at the Hangout, John Silver says he's lost the biggest match of his career because his friends were nowhere to be found. They try to figure out what's next to do. Anna Jay says she's still mad at Silver for not hugging him. Silver ends up hugging 10 again. They decided just to rip on 5 and eventually cut his hair. The Matt Hardy is in the EVP room to talk to the Bucks and congratulate them about their tag title victory. Hardy says he was very happy how the Elite Deletion went. Nothing he's brought an interconnective story between TNA, WWE, and AEW. He's mentioned multiple times how he's invented the modern cinematic wrestling match. Matt and Nick feels he's underselling their tag title win. Hardy says it's a great win, but not as great as TLC concept that he helped create. Hardy wondered if Matt has a name because of him. Hardy says he's getting back to being who he is and ready to do more in AEW. He goes to leave and let Matt and Nick, they are going to be big deals real soon. Matt and Nick are annoyed, but they agree. The brothers wonder which version of Matt that was. Maybe an AEW original gimmick? Trent defends the BTE title against John Silver with Cassidy and Reynolds in the background. They flip water bottles and the winner is first to 3. Silver ends up winning and taking the title. He does some yes chants and end BTE. Alright, so that was episode 230 of Being the Elite from last week. Alright, so next up, going to do a quick recap of Dark. You guys know how I do. I don't go in depth to the Dark matches to keep the flow of the show going quicker. So this is the Dark recap for last Tuesday, which was November the 17th. Alright, you had BSHP King versus Darby Allin. Darby Allin the winner. You had Layla Hirsch and Alana Black versus Brandy Rhodes and Red Velvet. The winner is Brandy Rhodes and Red Velvet. Next up, you had Danny Limelight and Casey Navarro versus Jurassic Express. The winner is Jurassic Express. Next, you had Ryzen versus Frankie Kazarian. The winner was Frankie Kazarian. Alright, so after that, Cass talks after the match about his goals moving forward, but he's attacked from behind by the TH2. Christopher Daniels comes down for the save and lays out Jack Evans with the Angel Wings. Alright, so next up you have Dave Dutra versus Ricky Starks. The winner was Ricky Starks. Next up you had Sean Maluda and Alex Chamberlain versus Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. Winner Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison. Alright, so you had Aaron Solo in Angel Fashion versus Max Cassler and Anthony Bowens. The winner was Bowens and Cassler. All right, you have VSK versus Dark Order. The winner was Dark Order. So next up was Peter Avalon is shown backstage in the robe. He answers a knock at the door and says the person must be there for the new manager ad. Avalon is being totally creeped and hitting on an unseen person with the cheesy porno music playing in the background. The person slaps him in the face and says he needs to get out of it, and he's pretty Peter Avalon, and he doesn't need anyone. Looks to be a gimmick change for Avalon. Alright, so next up we had the Butcher and the Blade versus Jersey Muscle. The winner is Butcher and the Blade. Then the Natural Nightmares come out after the match and all hell breaks loose. QT Marshall and Blade are split up by a group of officials. Then you have D3 versus Will Hobbs. The winner is Will Hobbs. Next was Evil Uno and Stu Grayson versus Nick Koromoto and Baron Black. The winner is Dark Order. Then you have a 6-man between John Silver, Colt Cabana, and 10 versus Sean Dean, Caesar Bononi, and Phil De La Soul. The winner, Dark Order. Layla Tapia versus Kelly King. The winner, Kellen King. Next up, Chaos Project versus Private Party. Winner, Private Party. And then the last match was Sammy Guevara versus Lee Johnson. The winner is Sammy Guevara. Alright, so next up, we got the AEW Dynamite recap. Alright. Alright, so this is your recap for Dynamite, which was last Wednesday, November the 18th. Alright, the opening match was the Young Bucks versus Top Flight, Darius and Dante Martin. Alright, so the match ends when Matt hits the powerbomb Dante into the corner and Darius. Nick tags and he nails Dante with a springboard double stomp before hitting Darius with a backstabber. Matt tags back and the Bucks go for the Meltzer driver before Dante breaks it up. Darius tags in and he cracks Mac with a clothesline. Darius then hits with a standing Spanish fly for a near fall. Darius clears the ring before hitting the Bucks with a suicide dive. Dante follows up by nailing the Bucks with a suicide dive of his own. Dante tags in and he double teams the Bucks with Darius. The teams battle back and forth until Dante nails back with a Hurricanrana for a near fall. Dante goes to the top rope and he misses his leap before eating a spear from Matt. Nick tags in and he nails Darius with a penalty kick from the ring apron. The Bucks get Dante off the top rope before nailing him with a super sliced bread for a near fall. Darius gets in the ring and Nick sends him back out of it. The Bucks go for more bang for your buck and Dante counters with a roll-up on Nick for a near fall. The Bucks then hit Dante with the BTE trigger for a 3 count, and then you have the Bucks going over on Top Flight. Alright, now after the match, the Hybrid 2 attack Top Flight until the Young Bucks chase them off. Now highlights are shown of the Inner Circle's trip to Las Vegas. Chris Jericho and MJF leave the first casino drunk, and Konnan joins the party to get them all high. Wardlow and Jake Hager take turns beating up random people. Alright, so next up, the AEW World Champion Jon Moxley appears, who says he's been on a crazy, you-know-what, ride for 16 years, and the world finally makes sense to him. Moxley says he's been an AEW World Champion for so long because of his dad. Moxley tells a story about the time his dad picked him up from jail and the advice his father gave him. Moxley talks about his personal life and how wrestling has affected it. Moxley said he'll sign the contract tonight while telling Kenny Omega that he's the best wrestler in the world. Alright, so Miro joins the commentary team before the next match. Alright, so All right, so the next match is Orange Cassidy versus Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford. All right, now the match ends when Sabian goes for a running drop kick and Cassidy gets out of the way. Cassidy goes to the top rope and Sabian meets him up there. Cassidy knocks Sabian off the ropes and Sabian kicks him in the head. Sabian returns to the top rope and nails Cassidy, knocks him off before landing a high cross body. Cassidy follows up by nailing Sabian with a tornado DDT for a near fall. Cassidy goes to the top rope and he goes for a diving DDT. Sabian avoids it and he gets Cassidy to the ring apron. Read this over. Sabian avoids it and he gets Cassidy to the ring apron, but Sabian misses a springboard Ingazuri and Cassidy sends him into the turnbuckle pad a few times. Cassidy then hits Sabian with a top rope diving DDT for a near fall. Sabian rolls to the ring apron as he drops Cassidy neck first to the top rope. Sabian slips while going to the rope and he still managed to hit Cassidy with a brainbuster. Sabian follows up with a penalty kick on Cassidy for a near fall. Sabian then hits Cassidy with a modified Michinoku driver for a near fall. Sabian goes for a swinging net breaker and Cassidy counters with a roll up. Sabian then hits Cassidy with knee strikes followed by a right. And Sabian goes for the spinning net breaker again and Cassidy counters with a roll up for a 3 count. And there you have it, Orange Cassidy going over Kip Sabian. Now after the match, Miro attacks Orange Cassidy until best friends make the save. Now Tony Schiavone is in the ring for the contract signing with AEW World Champion Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega. Omega makes his way to the ring first and Moxley is shown laid out backstage. Omega gets the microphone and claims that Moxley is avoiding him in the match, and Omega then signs the contract for the title match. Now more highlights are shown of the Inner Circle's trip to Vegas, and a drunk Chris Jericho says Elvis is part of the Inner Circle. MJ says he's always considered himself to be a lone wolf before joining the Inner Circle. The entire group howls at the full moon. A hungover Jericho wakes up the next day with Elvis in his bed. MJF wakes up in a bathtub while Sammy Guevara is in a water fountain. Guevara also wrote on MJF's face while sleeping. Ortiz is working out while Guevara reveals he's got married 3 times while drunk. Santana is playing with a bunch of chickens while Hornswoggle is found crying in a diaper. Now, Chris Jericho ends up being part of the commentary team and put over a match for next week's Dynamite. Eddie Kingston comes to the commentary booth before the next match. Alright, so Blade, the next match is Blade with the Butcher and the Bunny versus Pac. Now, the match ends when Pac fights back and Blade drops him with the knee lift to the midsection. Blade also cracks Pac with the clothesline before landing more strikes. Hold on, guys. Take a quick water break. Get something to drink. Wet my whistle real quick. Hold on, guys. That's better because my voice sounded like it was cracking a little bit. Alright, so we're just going to restart all over. Alright, the next match is the Blade with the Butcher and the Bunny versus Pac. Now the match ends up when Pac fights back and the Blade drops him with the knee lift to the midsection. Blade also cracks Pac with a clothesline before landing more strikes. Blade keeps Pac down while choking him on the middle rope, and Pac gets up as Blade exchanges strikes with him. Blade misses a charge in the corner before landing a follow-up pump kick on Blade. Pac follows up by nailing Blade with a super kick. Blade recovers and he nails a charging Pac with a power slam for a near fall. Blade goes to the top rope and Pac kicks him in the face. Blade meets him on the top rope and he nails Blade with a suplex for a near fall. Pac drops Blade with a running European uppercut. Then Pac goes to the top rope and Bunny distracts him and Butcher tries interfering and Pac nails him with a super kick. Pac drops Blade again before going to the top rope and landing a shooting star press on him. Pac gets Blade in the brutalizer and Blade taps out. And there you have it, Pac going over on Blade. Now after the match, Pac gets the microphone and Butcher attacks him from behind. The Blade and Eddie Kingston join in on the beatdown of Pac. Kingston gets the microphone and he mocks Pac before saying he'll put Pac through the gauntlet. Ray Phoenix comes out to help Pac before getting overwhelmed. Penta L0M comes out with a steel chair and he saves Phoenix and Pac from the beatdown. Now, backstage, Nyla Rose and Jade attack Brandy Rose until Big Swole and others make the save. Alright, so next up you have the NWA World Women's Championship match. Serena Deeb, the champ, versus Thunder Rosa. Now the match ends when Deeb gets Rosa in the top rope and she follows her up there. Deeb briefly looks at Rosa in a submission while they're on the top ropes. Rose falls to the mat below and Deeb's attacks her with multiple strikes. Deeb gets Rosa in a chin lock and Rosa nails her with a jawbreaker as we go to commercial. We return from the commercial break to see that Rosa is sending a charging Deeb into the middle turnbuckle. Then Rosa then hits Deeb with multiple corner clotheslines. Rose follows up by dropping Deeb and landing a double knee drop afterwards. Rosa traps Deeb in the ropes before landing a drop kick and a butterfly suplex for a near fall. Deeb fights back and she hits Rosa with a rope assisted net breaker. Deeb meets Rosa on the ring apron and she nails her with a spear. Deeb then gets Rosa back in the ring to get a near fall on a pin attempt. Rosa fights back and she attacks Deeb with a variety of kicks followed by a released German suplex. Rosa then knocks Deeb out of the ring after landing a missile drop kick. Reba comes out from the crowd to distract the ref. Dr. Britt Baker nails Rosa with the spinning fisherman net breaker on the entrance ramp. Deeb then hits Rosa with a power bomb for a near fall. Rosa fights back and then she rolls Deeb for a near fall. Deeb catches Rosa in a leg assisted full Nelson and Rosa gets free to hit Deeb with a double stomp. Deeb recovers and Rosa catches her in a roll up for a near fall. Rosa and Deeb have striking exchange in the middle of the ring. Rosa then hits Deeb with a bow and arrow bomb for a near fall. Rosa and Deeb exchange roll-ups for some near falls. Then Deeb hits Rosa with a modified Styles Clash for a 3 count. And there you have it. Serena Deeb goes over and retains her NWA World Championship over Thunder Rosa. Now after the match, Thunder Rosa attacks Dr. Britt Baker as she was in the crowd and a bunch of officials have to break it up. Next up is John Silver and Anna Jay are backstage and Silver talks about how everything Dark Order has done for her. Silver announced that Jay will get a title shot at AEW World Championship next week. A Darby Allin video features Allin posing with the AEW TNT Championship all around a cathedral while also lighting a skateboard on fire. Alright, folks. Sorry about that. Take a quick little water break. Alright, so Next up, we have the main event, Team Taz, with Brian Cage and Ricky Starks, with Taz versus Cody Rhodes and Darby Allin with Arn Anderson. Now, the match ends when Rhodes fight back and Starks attacks Allin to prevent a tag. Cage then nails Rhodes with a released German suplex for a near fall. Starks tags in and he stomps away on a down Rhodes. Starks corners Rhodes while landing a bunch of strikes with a stomp on him. Starks holds Rhodes down while applying a chinlock to him, and Rhodes gets free as he nails Starks with a back body drop. Allin tags into the match and he quickly starts cleaning house against the opposing team. Cage returns and nails Starks and Allin with a double release German suplex. Rhodes goes after Taz before landing a disaster kick on Cage. Starks then nails Rhodes with the spear from nowhere. Cage returns and he nails Allin with a powerbomb before eating a cold red for a near fall. Allin looks for a stunner and Starks defends it before Cody nails him with a crossroads. Cage then takes out Cody with the super kick before dropping him on his head. Cage gets Allin off the top ropes, then he follows him up there. Allin knocks Cage off the top ropes and Starks grabs his legs. Cage hits Allin with a jumping head kick and a super drill claw for the 3 count. And there you have it, Team Taz with Brian Cage and Ricky Starks, with Taz go over on Cody Rhodes and Darby Allin. Now, after the match, Team Taz attacks Rhodes and Darby Allin until Will Hobbs chases them off with his steel chair. Then Hobbs grabs the FTW title belt and he hits Cody with it to reveal that he has joined Team Taz. And there you have it. That was AEW Dynamite for last Wednesday with the big surprise, Will Hobbs finally joining Team Taz. Overall, I'm going to give Dynamite on the 5-star weekly scale. I'm going to give it a solid 4.0. Probably 4 3/4 stars, close to 5. It was a pretty good show. All right, so next up is we're gonna get into the Impact recap, which was last Tuesday, November the 17th. All right, real quick before we get into the Impact recap from last Tuesday, just want to do 2 quick plugs. First plug, of course, Big Bro, DJ Hardcore from DJ Hardcore Productions. Just letting you guys know when the next showcase is coming up, and that's going to be January 9th. In same place, same space, in the Maplewood Mall right here in the Germantown section of Philadelphia. And don't forget, you can go to eventbrite.com to get your early bird tickets and jump on that quick. Also, can't forget the Lucky Well restaurant, the barbecue spot. Shout out Mr. Chad and the whole staff, including I'm part of that staff. But make sure you guys check them out and get your takeout and delivery. They got 3 locations: Ambler, PA, Warrington right there in the shopping center, and also on 10th and Spring Garden. All right, so now, since I did just for me doing those ad reads real quick, if you want more information, any businesses or anybody who knows some businesses that could take advantage of the ad reads that I'm offering for 30-second ad read as low as $25. If you want more information on that, you can hit me up at One Struggle Radio, the number 1 STRUGGLE radio@gmail.com, and I'll be more than glad to give you the information on the sliding fee scale we have for the ad reads for all the shows we have, because in addition to doing the J.Raw weekly podcast, also got a music and sports podcast with DJ Hardcore, of course my big bro. And also for the new year, I'm going to be dropping another podcast So you guys stay tuned. Closer to the new year, I'll give you guys more information. You guys are going to like the new podcast that I'm going to drop and who I'm going to do it with. So, all right, without further ado, I did the plugs for everything. So let's get back into it. Let's get into this Impact recap for November 17th, which was last Tuesday. All right, the show started out with the TNA World Heavyweight Championship no disqualification match. Moose the Champ versus Willie Mack. Now, Willie goes right after Moose and beats him down after Moose rolls out of the ring and Willie gives him a chase. Willie beats on Moose at ringside and sends him into the post to the railing before Moose launches him over the railing onto the concrete floor. Moose tosses Willie back over the railing and into the ring before tossing him to the end so hard that the railing moves. Back in the ring, Moose locks in a rear naked choke before Willie comes back with a discus clothesline and Moose drop kicks him. Moose steps on Willie and chokes him in the corner before demanding Willie tell the camera that he is the wrestling god before Willie says that he isn't anything. They exchange strikes and Willie hits a Samoan drop into a standing moonsault for a 2 before Moose counters a stunner. Willie hits a Tour of the Islands before missing a frog splash off the top rope when Moose rolls out of the way and Willie counters a spear into a stunner before Moose spears him and hits what's now called the lights out. Moose then beats on Willie in a mount before elbowing him unconscious before the referee stoppage. And there you have it. Moose retains his TNA championship by defeating Willie Mack by referee stoppage. Alright, so next up we get the final editions of the Rascal Smoke Show ahead of their final match in tonight's main event. Alright, so after that we get a match between Suicide and Geo, but we get Joe Doering and Eric Young immediately come out and attack both men for the double disqualification. So it was a no count out due to interference. Now after the match, Eric Young gets on the mic and says that Joe will be what haunts everyone in the locker room and that the world is theirs. Now we go backstage to an interview in the newly crowned 2-time knockout champion Deonna Purrazzo and Kimberly, where Deonna talks about winning the title back from Su Yung at Turning Point. The screen then has a weird effect and takes over before they turn around and see that Su Yung has sent another red message on the mirror, and this time, and then after this we go to commercial. We come back to Heath talking to Rhino before Rhino walks out of the locker room and Eric and Joe beat Rhino down. Heath then opens the door to see them before Joe comes in and blocks his path, and Eric comes behind him and closes the door. Alright, so next up we get a match between Brian Myers and Crazy Steve. Alright, Brian backs Steve into the corner for a clean break before Brian ducks out of the ring and regroups when Steve tries to cut him off. Brian gets back inside and kicks Steve in the men's section before he hits a head scissors and Brian rocks with a back elbow. Steve gets his knees up in the corner before locking in a tarantula and smashing the face of Brian into the mat. They exchange on the apron until Steve bites Brian and Brian drives him back into the post and down onto the floor as we go to commercial. We come back to Steve in control before Brian turns him inside out with a lariat for the pin to win. There you have it. Brian Myers goes over and defeats Crazy Steve with a pinfall. We get this week's Impact Plus Flashback Moment of the Week, featuring a Knockouts Tag Team Championship match between Gail Kim and Madison Rayne and Tara and Brooke Tessmeyer, in which Madison and Gail become the new champions as we go to commercial. We come back to Tommy Dreamer interrogating Johnny Swinger, accusing him of shooting Johnny Bravo before announcing the return of Russell Court for next week. Alright, so after that, we get a Knockouts Tag Team Championship Tournament first round match. Tenille Dashwood and Alicia versus Havoc and Nevaeh. Tenille and Nevaeh start the match off with Tenille taking control before Alicia comes in and momentarily grounds Havoc before being flung across the ring. Tenille and Alicia send Havoc out of the ring before Nevaeh takes out Tenille and Alicia hits a running back elbow in the corner. Havoc comes back and she and Nevaeh hit a sit-out face-buster cut combo for the pin to win. And there you have it. Havoc and Nevaeh defeat Alicia and Tenille Dashwood via pinfall to advance to the next round in the tournament. Alright, so after that, we get a match between Fallah Bahh and Hernandez. Bahh runs over Hernandez with a running crossbody before Hernandez sends him out of the ring and hits a tope before tossing him back in the ring. Bahh whips Hernandez in the corner before missing a splash, and Hernandez clotheslines him with wrenching his neck. Bahh gets to his feet and come back with palm strikes into a headbutt and a running splash into a running hip attack. Bahh then hits a Samoan drop for 2 before Hernandez counters a fireman's carry and a slingshot. Bahh before hitting a diving splash for the pin to win. And there you have it. With an amazing dive splash from the top rope, Hernandez beats Fallah Bahh via the frog splash for the pin to win. Alright, so after the match, backstage we get Scott D'Amore meets up with Rohit Raju before Raju leaves and TJP shows up. And Scott asks TJP what Dusty Rhodes would have done. Scott then gives TJP some veiled advice about getting a title shot off Rohit so he can challenge it for again before leaving as we go to commercial. We come back to Ethan Page of the North barging into Scott's office demanding a rematch before Carl says that he and Doc will give them the rematch if Ethan can beat a phenomenal opponent. We get a graphic of Impact World Championship match between Rich Swann and Ken Shamrock as well as the continuation of the Knockout Tag Team Tournament. The Rascals versus Trey Miguel is up next in our main event. They kick things off as Wentz to exchange wrist locks and headlocks before mirroring drop kicks and flips. Rich and Dez come in and the two lock up before exchanging arm drags and running the ropes. Rich then drops Dez with a roundhouse kick and Trey comes in and hits a ripcord 4 shots before the Rascals double up on Trey as we go to commercial. We come back to the Rascals still in control of Trey before he comes back in with a neck breaker to Wentz that make Wentz DDT Dez. Rich gets the hot tag and knock Dez off the apron before hitting Wentz with the Ingazuri into a Frankensteiner on Dez on the mat. Rich hits a rolling splash for 2 before Trey and Rich hit a double bicycle knee into a running shooting star press by Rich for a near fall that Dez breaks up. The 4 exchange strikes until they collapse before the Rascals double up on Rich and hit their finisher for a near fall. Everyone hits their move before Rich hits a diving splash for a near fall. The Rascals then miss their finisher before Rich thrust kicks the back of the head of Dez for the pin to win. And there you have it. Rich Swann and Trey Miguel defeat the Rascals via the pinfall. Now after this, the 4 then hug, raising each other's arms and crying and hugging more before Trey, Dez, and Wentz drape their jackets over the top rope and leave the ramp. The 3 share a group hug backstage with Rich before their attack and laid out by Sami Callihan and Ken Shamrock, as we go off the air. All right, so that was your Impact for last Tuesday, which was a pretty decent episode, gotta say. I get at 4.5 stars. All right, so I'm gonna just take a quick break, and then when I come back, I'm gonna do the ROH recap in New Japan, and then go into some the Survivor Series prediction, wrestling news, and then the top 10 and botching hot spot of the week. All right, so stay close, people. I'll be right back. Peace. All right, everybody, it's your boy J.Raw with the J.Raw Wrestling Podcast. Back at it again. Just coming back from the little break I took. Had to get a little nourishment in me and a little chill time so I can finish out this home stretch. We got left the ROH recap, New Japan. Got my Survivor Series predictions for tonight. Then you got the top 10, then the high spot and the botch of the week. All right, so before we get back into the recap during the rest of the show, quick plugs for the sponsors. Without a shadow of a doubt, plug in DJ Hardcore Productions. Showcase coming up January the 9th. Back here in the Germantown section of Philly, same spot. Maplewood Mall. Make sure you go to eventbrite.com. Get up on them early bird tickets. Also shouting out the Lucky Well. Make sure you check it out at theluckywell.com or go on Facebook or Instagram. 3 locations in Ambler, 1 in Warrenton, and also in 10th and Spring Garden and Northern Liberties. All right, so here we go with the ROH recap, which was last Monday. All right, the show starts out with a video package shown of highlight of Brody King defeating Dalton Castle last week after the usual ROH signature video package. All right, then after that we had a Soldiers of Savagery make their way to the ring to face the Briscoes as they make their way to the ring. And then you got EC3 on commentary. So we got a match with Soldiers of Savagery, Moses and Khan versus the Briscoes, Mark and Jay. Now the match ends when Jay forearms Moses in the corner. Jay sends Moses to the opposite corner. Jay splashes Moses in the corner. Mark clothesline Moses in the corner. Then Jay hits a net breaker on Moses. Mark throws chairs to Jay in the ring. Jay sets the chair up as Mark gets in the ring. Mark uses the chair as a step as he hits the senton over the top rope on Khan at ringside. The referee gets rid of the chair. Then Jay hits a Spicoli driver on Moses as Mark ascends to the turnbuckle. Mark hits the Foggy Bow finisher on Moses, and Mark pins Moses for the 3 count. And there you have it, the Briscoes going over on Soldiers of Savagery. All right, so next up, after the match, EC3 stares in the ring from the entranceway. Then we get a video package is shown of Shane Taylor and then Kenny King. Kenny and Shane Taylor make their entrances. Then we get a match with Kenny King versus Shane Taylor. King strikes Taylor in the face as the bell rings. King connects with kicks to the head of Taylor. Later in the match, Taylor connects with a knee strike to King. King managed to hit a modified Northern Legged suplex on Taylor. King hits Taylor for a 2 count, and Taylor sends King into the corner. Taylor gets King up on his shoulders, and Taylor hits his greetings from 216 finisher on King. Taylor pins King for the win, and there you have it, Shane Taylor going over on Kenny King. All right, so there's a promo show for next week as once again the show comes to a close. All right, so that was the Ring of Honor for last Monday. All right, so next up, going to do a very quick recap of all the New Japan going down. All right, so first off, we got the first night of the World Tag League and the Best of the Super Juniors. All right, World Tag League match. We had Toriano and Tomohiro Ishii versus Bad Luck Valet and Chase Owens. Then you had Best of the Super Junior match. You had Master Wato beat Umino. Then you had a World Tag League match. Jeff Cobb versus Great Khan defeating Toa Henry and Tomohiro Tanahashi. Next up, you had the Best of Super Juniors match. You had Robbie Eagle defeat Doku. Next up, you had a World Tag League match. Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi defeat Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto. Then you had the Best of the Super Juniors. Show defeat Bushi. World Tag League match. Evil and Yoro Takahashi defeat Sanada and Shingo Takagi. Best of the Super Junior match. You had Ryu Taguchi defeat El Desperado. World Tag League match. You had David Finlay and Juice Robinson defeat G.O.D., Tonga Loa, and Tama Tonga. And then in the final match, you had Best of the Super Juniors match. Hiromu Takahashi defeats Taishi Ishimori. All right, so night 2, which was last Monday, you had Yota Tetsui defeat Gabriel Kidd. World Tag League, the G.O.D. defeated Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens. You had another tag league match. Basically, it was all tag league matches. You had Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi defeat Great Khan and Jeff Cobb. Then you had Evil and Yujiro Takahashi defeat Juice Robinson and David Finlay. You had Shingo Takagi defeat Shingo Takagi and Sanada defeat Toriano and Tomohiro Ishii. Zack Sabre Jr. and Tachi defeat Tanahashi and Toa Henry. All right, so night 3, you had Homina and Sachashi Komji defeat Gabriel Kidd and Yuji Nagata. Best of the Super Juniors, they were all Best of Super Junior matches. You had Bushi defeat Yuji Uemura. You had Master Wato defeat Robbie Eagle. Sho defeat Doku. Taiji Ishimori v Taguchi. And El Desperado defeat Takahashi. All right, and night 4, which was last Thursday, you had Homina, looked like it was a 6-man match. Homina, Yuji Nagata, and Komaji defeat Gabriel Kidd, Yua Umara, and Yota Tetsu. Then they were all World Tag League matches. You had Great Khan and Jeff Cobb defeat Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens. Juice Robinson, David Finlay defeat Tanahashi and Toa Henry. You had the G.O.D. going over on Evil and Takahashi. Then you had Yoritano and Ishii defeat Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi. And then the final match was Shingo Takagi and Sanada defeat Zack Sabre Jr. and Tachi. All right, and in New Japan Showdown Night 2, you had Clark Connor and the DKC defeating Sterling Regal and Logan Regal. You had Rusty Taylor defeating Rocky Romero. Jeff Cobb goes over on J.R. Kratos, and for the contract for the IWGP United States Heavyweight title, You had Kenta defeat David Finlay. All right, so that was the quick recap of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And get it everybody caught up. Got a show later on tonight. Well, early this morning. Tomorrow morning, Monday. World Tag League and Best of the Super Juniors start right back up. All right, so now gonna get into doing predictions for Survivor Series, which will be tonight. Of course, coming from the Thunderdome. All right. For the dual branded Battle Royal, I'll have everybody's name in front of me, so I think Big E's supposed to be in it. I wouldn't be surprised if Big E or Drew Gulak. Hell. All right. Of course, you got the Undertaker's farewell because he's retiring. Can't wait to check out his Broken Skull with him and Stone Cold. All right. And we have the women's traditional 5-on-5 elimination match for Team Raw. You got Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Lana, Lacey Evans, and Peyton Royce versus SmackDown women's team, Bianca Belair, Riot Squad, Bayley, and Natalya. Would it be funny if is Lana the sole survivor and beat everybody? But I'm gonna go with Team SmackDown. All right, in the men's traditional 5-on-5 elimination match, you got Team Raw, Styles, Lee, Sheamus, Strowman, and Riddle versus Owens, Jey Uso, King Corbin, Rollins, and Otis. I'm gonna go Team Raw. I'm gonna go Raw on this one. All right, for champion match, you have the U.S. champ Bobby Lashley versus Sami Zayn. That's a no-brainer, Bobby Lashley. You have the Raw Tag Team Champions, the New Day, going up against Street Profits. I would like the Street Profits to go over, so I'm going to go with Street Profits, even though New Day my squad, but I want the Street Profits to go over. All right, you got the Women's Championship match, Asuka, the Raw champ, versus Sasha Banks, the SmackDown champ. Sasha definitely needs to win, so I'm going to go with Sasha. And then the match I'm definitely looking forward to, Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns, champ versus champ, Universal versus WWE. I'm going to go with the Tribal Chief, of course. That would be Roman Reigns. But it's going to be a hell of a match, though. All right. So those are my predictions for Survivor Series tonight. So next up, we're going to go into some quick news for the ratings for the week. We have Raw with a 1.77 million. SmackDown, which was on Fox, we had 2.215 million. NXT on USA, you had 638,000. And AEW on Dynamite, you had 850,000. All right, some quick AEW and NXT notes. The Inner Circle Las Vegas skit was filmed Friday and Saturday, obviously on location. Oh, I forgot to mention, I get all, as y'all well know by now, I get all my news and recaps and everything from Fightful.com and Fightful Select, so make sure you subscribe to their Patreon. All right, Finn Balor's update was played close to the vest this week, and specifics were not listed on many internal rundowns. And there will be some characters returning to NXT TV soon as tonight on social channels, as if it all goes according to plan. All right, so in WWE news, Xavier Woods' YouTube channel wins Content Creator of the Year eSport Award. Xavier Woods always worked hard for his YouTube channel, Up, Up, Down, Down. The channel existed since 2015, was one of WWE's first forays into someone's someone on their roster build a brand outside what they do inside of the square circle via the medium of social media. Now, Rhea Ripley suffered multiple contusions and abrasions on both her ears after having 5 earrings ripped out during the match. Doctors had removed pieces of skin from her ears to make her ear look normal again. Now, meanwhile, Io Shirai suffered from a sore neck and whiplash, and she's not medically cleared, but doctors are confident she won't be out for long. Now, along with Shirai and Ripley, Arturo Ruas suffered a right bicep injury against Kushida. He'll go for an MRI and is not medically cleared. Now, E! News is first reported that the WWE will be moving the Thunderdome to Tropicana Field. WWE has been running live events at the Amway Center, rebanding the Thunderdome since August, but with the NBA set to start its season on December 22nd, the Orlando Magic needed the facility. WWE needs to find a new home, and their contract at the Amway Center expires November 24th, and WWE must be out by December the 5th. So that's the reason why they're moving to Tropicana Field. From my understanding, they're going to be starting taping shows or doing shows at Tropicana Field December the 11th. All right, so that's your news for episode 17 for this week. Now, speaking of episode 17, we're going to get into my favorite segment. Like I said, the disclaimer, this is just solely my opinion. You guys have your own that listen to the podcast. If you want to leave a comment or leave your top 10, wherever I upload this at, especially on Facebook or whatever, you can leave your own comments and you let me know your top 10. So for this week, the top 10 is going to be for the females, and we're going to get into it. Number 10, got Peyton Royce. Number 9, Mandy Rose. Number 7, Jordan Grace. Number 6, Bianca Belair. Number 5 is Brandy Rose. Number 4 is Alexa Bliss. Coming in number 3, the Impact Women's Champ, Deonna Purrazzo. Number 2, the SmackDown Women's Champ, my baby Sasha Banks. And number 1 is Asuka, the Raw Women's Champ. So to recap real quick, number 10, Peyton Royce. Number 9, Mandy Rose. Number 7, Jordan Grace. Number 6, Bianca Belair. Number 5, Brandy Rose. Number 4, Alexa Bliss. Number 3, Deonna Purrazzo. Number 2, Sasha Banks. And number 1, Asuka. All right. Now, of course, my hot spot of the week has to be the contract signing between Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre. It was pretty good the way Roman played his part during that promo. And the botch of the week is, of course, the men's Raw Survivor Series team. All the team members losing the Retribution the way they did. And once again, botch for me is Raw, but Raw was okay. All right. Wow. I can't believe I actually kept the show under an hour, guys. You should be proud of me. So it's no more else to do with that. With the wrestling news, I gave you guys some good content this week. Real quick, we're going to end the show on the shout outs. I want to shout out the whole One Struggle fam. Starting out, of course, with my bro, DJ Hardcore Productions. Don't forget, got the showcase coming up January the 9th in the new year. Once again at the Maplewood Mall here in Germantown. If you want more information, hit DJ Hardcore up at DJ Hardcore Productions on Facebook and Instagram. Also, you can go to eventbrite.com/DJ Hardcore Productions and check out the early bird specials you got going on. Of course, got to shout out my bro, Bro, B-R-O, my brother, blood brother, Nose G, you know what I'm saying, the VP. Can't forget Reno Bryce. Can't forget the vet, Flames the vet. Can't forget them Bush boys, you know what I'm saying. Can't forget my other bro, you know what I'm saying, Cozy Mo, you know what I'm saying. Can't forget to shout out all the Facebook groups. True Hills. Can't forget Marked Out Club. Russell Cave. What up, Geechee Geech? What up, 30Ks? Also, don't forget to, please, if you get a chance, make sure to check us out on Castbox, box.fm.com. Also, Spreaker.com. Also, SoundCloud and YouTube. Make sure you check us out there at One Struggle Radio. That's pretty much it for episode 17, which is November the 22nd, 2020. Going to have this up. Also, later on today, I will record the NXT review for the week. So look out for that. That's pretty much it. Once again, this is your boy, J.Raw, for the J.Raw Wrestling Weekly Podcast and One Struggle Radio Podcast Network. Peace.